side of the mirror. Hope you guys enjoyed my SHL show, my CFL show. Your CFLs are sick, I know. Ivan, man, you know your shit, man. You study. Oh yeah. I know my shit. I know how sport leagues work. I know how Hollywood works. I'm self-taught. That's why I know how to blow your mind away with my videos, obviously. Yeah, man, you put on like a show, Ivan, when you talk about like the SHL and Hollywood and the CFL. Yeah, I know, I do. Yo, Ivan, you're such a fucking dick, man. Like, you're putting us board of governors to shame. You're embarrassing us, Ivan. Well, the CFL deserves to be exposed, man. This has been going on for decades, but yeah. Ivan, do you understand why the CFL does that? Yes, I do. I know why they do that, because the American players are the greatest football players in the world. They're so talented, obviously. That's why the CFL does that. They're envious of the NFL's talent. That's why they just bring all the American guys. They don't think the Canadian players are good enough. I think they're more than good enough. It's just not the NFL's level. Yeah. Yeah. That's why the CFL does it. Yeah, the CFL thinks the NFL is so popular because of the quality of the game. Obviously, the best players in America playing in the NFL are so amazing players. Because they're so amazing players, that's why the league's popular. That's a part of it. But another reason why the NFL is very popular, because football is America's sport. Football is America's sport. CFL. In Canada, football is not Canada's sport. It's hockey. That's why the UCFL players are underpaid. Yeah. Now you guys understand why you guys are underpaid. Yeah, we know that. Yeah, that's why you guys are underpaid. Because football's not popular in Canada. That's what I'm saying. I'll talk a little about the CFL. I'm going to go back talking about the SHL, right? Yeah. Are the best Canadian players good players? Oh yeah, they're amazing players, but when you compare it to the NFL, it's a significant dip in quality, obviously. Yeah. CFL's not satisfied with it. It's not good enough for them. When it is more than good enough, but the CFL's just blind by the American talent. Yeah, I mean, like, the best Canadian players are very talented players. Like, when you compare it to the best American players, man, it's like what? Like a 14% dip in quality. Yeah. What do you think is the difference in quality with the best Canadian players and the best American players? There's at least 14% around their dip in quality. It's a significant dip, obviously. Yeah, I mean, like, the best Canadian players are amazing. But like, man, when we look at the players in the NFL, the best players in the NFL, it's a letdown. A bit of a letdown. It's not good enough. That's why we got to bring the left over. That's why the CFL does that. Ivan, that's cold. I know it's cold. So. Yeah. So CFL thinks the NFL is so popular because of the quality of the game. Probably, yeah. The quality of the NFL, the quality of football in the NFL is so good. That's why it's so popular. That's a part of it. But another reason why the NFL is so popular is CFL, because football is America's sport. Obviously, football is not Canada's sport, but the CFL thinks that they can just bring in the leftover guys because they can't get the best players in America. The CFL, because what? The CFL is not for the American players. It's for the Canadian players. They can't get the best players in America. That's the NFL's players, but we can get the leftover guys and bring them up here and have them be the stars. but they know the CFL is for the best Canadian players. That's why they draft them, but they limit opportunities for them, and they draft the best. They grab all they grab the leftover American players and have them be the stars. That's how it works. Yeah. Only pro league that does it, by the way, right? Every pro league in the world, the best players in playing that league are the best players in that country who they drafted. But the CFL, even though it's the best Canadian players in the country they draft, they just bring up all these guys and how to be the stars, and like maybe you have a few stars here and there. Because the CFL is the only league that envies another country's talent. That's why they just bring up all these guys up here. The only league, pro league that does this, by the way, right? Yeah, I mean, it's the only pro. Yeah, it's the only. The best players in the NFL, CFL are the best American players. It's for the Americans. Best players in NFL Europe are the best European players. The best players in Pro Football Japan are the best Japanese players. And the CFL, even though they draft the best Canadian players, they just bring up all these American guys because they envy the NFL's talent pool. They just have to be the stars there, and they just what? They're the only league that doesn't believe their best talent is good enough to put on quality football for their country, because they're envious of another country's talent. Because the American talent, the American talent is so good, we can't do that. Gotta have those guys be the stars for We got to bring those guys up. We got what? Yeah, that one. That's cool, man. That's funny, I know. But I could be wrong. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe the best way to grow a league is with the American talent. I could be wrong, right? Obviously. Because the Americans they do put on higher quality football than the Canadian players. That's just the truth. They do. That's why the CFL does that. Obviously, if you get rid of the American talent, there'll be a little bit of a dip in quality. Is it a huge dip? No. A small dip. The best Canadian players are still amazing players, but they're a bit more raw. Some of them, right? I've not all the Canadian players raw. No, there's quite a bit of the best Canadian draft picks who are just as athletic as the American guys. They look coordinated and just as athletic as the American guys. There's some of them who are just amazing players, but they're a bit more raw in the way they play. Obviously, the Canadian, but that's what separates the best Canadian players from the American guys who runs up. The Canadian players are some of them are a little bit more raw in the way they play. When they play, they look a bit more raw and less athletic than the American guys. Whereas the American guys look more coordinated and they're more athletic in the way they play. They put on more of a show on television. That's why the CFL, even like the best Canadian players are very talented, but like they're a bit more raw. The American guys have a bit of the edge of talent. They're a bit more athletic. That's why they start the American guys. So it works, right? Yeah. Are the American guys the CFL brings up here way better than the Canadian players? No. The best Canadian players? No. No. It's close. There's not that much of a difference, but the American guys are a little bit more talented. They just have the edge of talent. Yeah, even they're a bit more talented. They have the edge of talent. But the Canadian guys are almost as talented as the American guys CFL brings up here. They're almost as talented. They're just a bit more raw. They're not as athletic as the American guys. Obviously, if I've watched many CFL games, I see all the Canadian players make tackles, the American guys make tackles on special teams. I see the star Canadian players make plays, the amazing American players I don't see that much of a difference. It's just the American players look a little bit more athletic on the screen, a little bit in most cases, but I don't see that much of a difference, obviously. But they are a bit more skilled, the American guys. They're a bit more athletic. Yeah, we're better than the Canadian guys. Yes, you are, guys, but this is not your league. Go ahead, you guys. I'm saying, yeah. What I will tell the league, I'll say commercial guys, I know the Canadian players are a little bit more raw. I recommend you put them through more intense training like the American guys. Put them through rigorous training in the offseason. You're gonna get a better performance from players. It won't be as good as the American players, but like it'll only be maybe a 2% dip in quality. Yeah, I mean 2% is a little bit significant. Yeah, it's a little bit significant, but I mean it's still amazing football, right? Yeah. Yeah. So the Canadian players are the Canadian football players are the second best football players in the world after the Americans. The Americans are number one. Canadian players are a close second. As the Canadian players are almost as good as the American players. They are. Yeah, even the Canadian players are almost as good as the American players. But the American players have the edge in town, I know. But the Canadian players are almost as good as the American players. The proof is that Team Canada beat your Team USA guys. I saw the game. The best players in Canada when they trial for the Team Canada. When my older brother played, they got destroyed. The second time, Team Canada wiped the floor with Team USA. These are the best Team USA players, the best Team Canada players. Team Canada wiped the floor with Team USA. And I saw the game, and I noticed that the American players look a bit more athletic and everything, and the Canadian players are a bit more raw, but the Canadian players are still amazing players. I didn't see that much of a difference in quality. So you did see a little bit difference in quality. Yeah, the Canadian players, when they played against the American players, they look a bit more raw when they play. A little bit more raw, but they still look amazing and athletic. Whereas the American players look, even they look more athletic on the screen. But Team Canada wiped the floor with Team USA when they beat Team USA, man. Obviously. And that's how you know the Canadian players are almost as good as the American players. They're not as good as the American players, but they're almost as good as the American players. Almost as good, but they're not the American players. The American players are by far the number one best players in the world. Yeah, even they're the best. Yeah, they're the best players in the world, and that's why the CFL does that, obviously. Who are the third best football players in the world? The Japanese. The Japanese beat your Team USA too, guys. I'm not lying. They beat your Team USA too. They almost beat our Team Canada when my older brother played, right? They're fucking amazing football players, the Japanese. Third after the Canadians, right? They're number three. Those are the Americans, the Canadians, and the Japanese in terms of football. Whereas hockey, the Canadians are number one, right? For hockey, the Canadians are the best hockey players. That's how it works, right? Yeah. And USA is number two. Or you can argue Russia is number two, right? Russians are fucking amazing hockey players. But USA hockey players are the second best. And the Canadians are the best, right? That's why most of the great hockey legends in the SHL are all these Canadian guys. Yeah, they're all Canadian players, right? Yeah. So for hockey, it's the opposite. Yeah. For hockey, the NHL scouts, they salivate over the Canadian talent. Canadian talent's number one. Hockey scouts salivate over the Canadian hockey players. Canadian hockey players are the greatest hockey players in the world. It's Canada's sport. But in football, it's the opposite. The Americans are the greatest players, and Canadians are the second greatest players in the world after the Americans. Canadians are number one. Americans are number one. The CFL's envious of the NFL's talent pool, just because we're envious of it. It's so good. That's what we think guys up and down these stars. Yeah, but you've been doing that for decades, CFL, in your leagues and having no growth. So something obviously is not right. Obviously, either fans of Canada just don't care about your league, even though you're putting. I don't think it's not about the quality of the game, man. Even though there'll be a dip in quality, CFL, with the Canadian talent, you'll still be entertaining football. It's good enough for the people of Canada, CFL, more than good enough. These are the best players in Canada. It's good enough, Ivan, but it's not. It'll be like a 40% dip from the NFL. Yeah, it's a 40% dip from the NFL, but it's still amazing football, CFL. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, but it's a significant dip from the NFL. Yeah, it'll be a significant, 14% dip. Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit significant. Yeah, it's a little bit significant, but I mean, it's still amazing, entertaining football, guys. Obviously. But the CFL wants to try to get close to as good as the NFL. That's why they bring all the American guys and have the stars up here. That's why they do that. Duh. Yeah. Yeah, that's why we do that, man. It's not good enough, Ivan. Yeah, play my American talent. Ivan, our all-star University Canadian football players, good for pro. No, not all of them. There's some Canadian players who are star players on the team, but they're not necessarily good for pro. They're good for university, but they're not necessarily good enough for pro. They're just not good enough, honestly. And there's some players who are obviously born to play pro football. They're just amazing Canadian football players. Yeah. Are all the Canadian players a bit raw? Not all of them. There's some of them who are just as athletic as the American guys. They look more coordinated and athletic on the field. Quite a bit of them, like the first round guys. Like those guys are like athletic, and a lot of those guys even get NFL opportunities because they're so good. They're such good players. The NFL is interested in a lot of the CFL's first round picks, obviously, even second round picks in the CFL. Quite a bit of CFL first round picks get NFL opportunities. Some of them sign the NFL. They're in the practice roster, or they play on the practice roster, or they play special teams. You play special teams in the NFL, and they have like state careers, and they end up coming back in the CFL because I told you it's very rare for a Canadian player to start in the NFL because the American guys just have the edge over the Canadian players. That's how it works. And don't forget, the NFL has a bias towards Canadian players. They just do, right? Yeah, we don't like you Canadian guys. Yeah, man. So if the NFL's going to limit us Canadian players, even though we don't really care about the NFL, why are you bringing all these American guys up here and having them be the stars of their CFL? It's not their country. They're very talented. I know they're talented, but I mean, I know you all American players and people think I'm a dick, obviously, but this has been going on for decades, guys, since the league started for like 70 years. Like, this is not right. Like, I could be wrong. Maybe you American guy, maybe the American talent is the key to growing the league, but I mean, they've been doing this for decades, and the league's only peaking at $300 million. That's not much growth, man. Obviously, for a league that's been going on for that long, right? I could be wrong, guys. Yeah, you could be wrong. Yeah, I could be wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I could be wrong. Maybe it is the right way to go league with the American talent. But I mean, yeah. We'll see if we'll ever get rid of the American talent. No, definitely do that. It's passed down to the league. They're never gonna do that, man. Yeah, I would never do that, man. The American guys is the way to go, Ivan. They're so talented. Yeah, they're blind American talent. That's funny, I know. Yeah. So, Ivan, some Canadian players are just as athletic as the American guys. Yes. Like the first, second round guys are like, most of those guys, in most cases, they're like almost pretty much just as athletic as the American guys. Even some third, fourth round picks are just are also very athletic. Then once you get into the later rounds, like fifth, sixth rounds, the play you see more of a little bit more of a dip in quality. Those players are a little bit more raw, and they're still amazing, talented players, though, even the later round picks. If the CFL just had the best Canadian players, how it would work was probably the first maybe 4 rounds are the guys who will get who could perhaps be stars, and the later round guys will be special teams guys. That's probably how it would work. They'd be special team guys and second, third string, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. Do some of the first round picks decline NFL opportunities? Yeah, they do. There's some first round picks who even though the NFL's interested in them, they decline it. They're like, fuck, because they don't really care about the NFL and Canadian guys. But there are some Canadian guys who do take NFL opportunities for the heck of it. But I told you that even though they take the NFL opportunity, this is their league. Like their dreams playing here, but it doesn't hurt. If the NFL team's interested, I might as well just give it a shot. But I mean, quite a bit of them decline it. They just play pro football here because they know their chances of starting is not high. Whereas if you're a first round pick in the CFL, even though your chances of starting is not high, you have a better chance of starting here than you do in the NFL. That's my point, right? Obviously. But even first round picks and second round picks in the CFL, barely any of them are stars now. They're all they might have a not bad special teams career or limited reps, and they just bounce around teams and they're bust picks, man. And a few of them get to be stars, obviously. Like the lineman and maybe like a couple of receivers, right? Who are the main skill position stars in CFL for the Canadian players? The receivers. It's less risky, right? Receivers are like the main stars in the CFL, the Canadian receivers, right? And the lineman. That's fucking, I know. The lineman, right? Canadian lineman. Scouts love Canadian lineman because it's a non-skill position, obviously. Yeah. And that's the only position where there's not really a difference in quality is the lineman. Canadian linemen are just as good as the American linemen that CFL brings up here, right? They're just as good, obviously. Yeah, that's the one position where the Canadians and the Americans are like kind of equals, is the lineman. I think you guys will agree. Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's not that much of a difference in quality with the lineman, but the skill positions is where you see a little bit of the difference, obviously. The Americans have the edge in talent over the best Canadian players in most cases. Not all of them, but in most cases, they have the edge in talent. Obviously. But there's some of the best Canadian star players who are better than the American players. I'm going to keep saying that. Andy Fantuz was better than a lot of American receivers in the CFL. Nick Dembski, playing for the Winnipeg Bombers, is arguably one of the best receivers. He's better than some of the American receivers, man. He's putting up 1,000+ yards a season, man. He's averaging 1,000 yards a season. He's killing the league, man. He's Canadian, man. He's better than quite a bit of the American receivers in the CFL. He's one of the highest paid receivers in the CFL, too. Yeah. Yeah. So you would tell the guys, I know the Canadian players are a little bit more raw than the American guys. I recommend put them through in more intense off-season training. Have them have more intense off-season training, and you're gonna get a better performance from the players. I don't do it. League would say no, we can't do that, man. The Canadian players are just not as talented. Yeah, so you're the only league that doesn't believe your own talent is good enough to put on good quality football for the country. You're the only league that downgrades your own talent because you're envious of another. Yeah, I mean, because you're envious of another league's talent. Obviously, that's your problem. CFL. The best pro players in NFL Europe are not even close to being as good as the best Canadian players, and yet the pro league drafts those players, and they're all those star players who they draft are the stars of that league. The pro league in Japan are all the best Japanese players. The pro league in the States, the NFL, is the best American players. And in Canada, you draft the best Canadian players and you just bring up all these American leftover guys who are not the best players in the States. And you market them to Canadian people, and no one knows anything about these guys. And you wonder why the league's not growing CFL. You wonder why you're only peaking at $300 million a year in revenue after 70, 50, 60 years. Yeah. NFL Europe, they draft the best European football players, guys. The Europeans are not even as good as the Canadian players. But it's good enough for the people of Europe, obviously. And the Canadians, who are second best after the Americans, the CFL doesn't think they're good enough to put on good quality football with you again. It's amazing quality football, but it's not like the NFL. Yeah, because they're envious of the NFL's talent, but that's why they bring up all these American guys. You wonder why the league's not growing CFL. Or I could be wrong. Maybe the American talent is the way to go. I don't know. I could be wrong, guys. I could be wrong, right? But it's not the way to go because they've been doing this for, They've been doing this for decades, and the league's only peaking at $300 million after like 50, 60 years of CFL history. The league is only peaking at $300 million, man, a season. That's not much. That's minimal growth, man. CFL should be doing 500, even 600 million a season in revenue, man. Even 700 million. CFL's peak is probably even perhaps 700 million a year a season in revenue around there. That's probably its peak. And I don't think it'll get any higher than that. The CFL's trying to get to that, but I mean, they're struggling with growth, obviously. Because the CFL knows if they can get to that like 600 million, $500 million range, they can raise the cap and they don't have to, the GMs don't have to worry that much about losing their star American players to the NFL because they're making a lot more money now. Obviously. Yeah, if we can get to like 550 million, we can raise the cap by $95 million, we can pay the players more. Yeah, star quarterbacks are now millionaires. They can make their million, $1,300,000, 800, 700K, and receivers can make 600, 500, 400K. Defensive players can make 350, 450K, 500K, and good players can make 200, 250K. And the minimum salary can be like $1,000. Everyone's not making living a rich, amazing living up here in Canada, and a lot of American star players would climb NFL opportunities if they made that kind of money. But some will still take NFL opportunities. But I mean, CFL's struggling with growth, obviously, right? Because I do believe the CFL players deserve that kind of money. They deserve at least to make that kind of money. They're fucking pro athletes. But like, because the league is strong financially, the CFL can't afford to pay the players that. They can't raise the cap to $9 million. They can't afford that. Obviously. The league has to have healthier growth for the league to afford that. Because the CFL players do deserve that kind of money. They're fucking pro athletes. They're the most underpaid players in the world. But I mean, because the league is struggling, the league can't afford to pay the players that. Obviously. Well, the American players feel like shit if they got rid of the American. Now, of course they would. They'd be crushed. And if the league did become huge in like, I don't know, 20 years, and the league's doing like $600 million, and these players are all making all that money, they're all gonna feel like shit. Yeah, man, like, what the fuck, man? Like it's because these Canadian guys, the league is thriving. You know, we're more talented Canadian guys. That the fans love these guys a lot more than us. Obviously. And they're on, like, the star quarterbacks are now making like their $1 million. Man, we never made that when we played in the fucking CFL. They're gonna feel like shit, those guys. The CFL legends are all gonna feel like shit, those guys. It's because these Canadian guys, the league is thriving, and the fans love them more, obviously, than us. Yeah, the American players may be more talented, but I guarantee the fans are gonna love these Canadian guys. They're gonna love the Canadian guys a lot more, especially the quarterbacks. They're gonna love them a lot more than your American guys you bring up here CFL. Yeah. Obviously. Got some Sarah. Yeah. I know all you GMs and coaches think I'm crazy, but let's say you did get rid of the American tie. Even though I know you're not going to do that, and you have the best Canadian players in Canada compete for the Grey Cup. You market it well. And in 10, 15 years, your league revenue skyrockets to $500+ million. Obviously, you can now raise the cap to $9 million and pay these guys a lot more money, like really rich money, not NFL money. They're making they're living a rich, amazing life. All you GMs and head coaches can get your raises, man. Yeah. Coaches in the CFL can now bargain for their $1 million in the CFL. With a $500 million, $900,000 million salary. Coaches in CFL don't make that, man. Yeah. They can make more. The GMs can make more. Obviously. The coordinators can make more. You guys will all get your raises. The presidents will get their raises. So it worked out for the good. Even though the quality dipped by 2%, it worked out for the good. Obviously. But the CFL sees it as risky because they don't believe the Canadian players are good enough to put on good quality over people in Canada. Obviously, when I watched the CIS championship game with Matching with Laval, that was good enough for me. I was entertained. That was an amazing game, man. Dwayne Ford called the best. It was such an amazing college game. They made a documentary out of it. And Dwayne Ford called it the best game ever, man. Ivan, yeah, man, that was entertaining football. Yeah, that was entertaining football. Those are not even the best players in Canada CFL. Like only like two guys per team are eligible for the draft every year, right? Around there, right? One or two guys per every team are like star players are eligible for the draft. The other players don't make it. Well, a few of them are unsigned undrafted free agents, but like only like every team has like a few star players CFL and who are eligible for the draft. Those are the best players. They're the ones who end up in the CFL. The other athletes don't make it. And those games are entertaining enough for me, and those are not even the best players in Canada. These are the best players in Canada CFL who are competing for the Grey Cup. It's not like the other guys playing in the league who are not the star players, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, the American players will be crushed. Yeah, the board guard told me, all right, if you do this, man, like it's not fair to the American guys, Ivan. You're gonna crush these guys. Like they can't play pro football. Oh my guys, there's the arena football league. There's like two like minor leagues in the states that can play in. Like that's still pretty good, right? Playing in the arena football league. You guys been saying in the other leagues, that's still pretty good. That's still success. Yeah, Ivan, it's a success, but it's not the CFL, Ivan. Yeah, because CFL is number two after the NFL. The American players know that. Yeah, it's number two after the NFL. Yeah, we don't want to play there. I want to play up here. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Got some sound? Yeah. But I could be wrong, guys. Maybe the way to go, even though I highly doubt it, maybe the way to go is with the American talent. But I think it's the Canadian talent. But if the league can grow to $500, guys, and that's good for the league. I was wrong. Obviously, in maybe 15 years, I was wrong, and you can pay the players can get the raise, they can make more money. Obviously, the CFL players can get the raise, they can make more money because the CFL players are underpaid, unfortunately, right? Well, I mean, guys, been said, yeah. It was not about that. Yeah. If you think you're gonna start that Edinburgh Hockey League, I'm most likely when we start VG, but I might start it. I might, obviously, because being a pro hockey is fucking cool, obviously. Yeah, and VG would support me, obviously. VG would support me, obviously, right? VG would support me. So, like, you're crazy, man. You'd rather be a movie star, sorry, a pro hockey athlete, or something. I know VG. I'd rather be a movie star with you, obviously. But it's 10 minutes out of pro hockey league. But I could flop as a player. It's risky. The key is training. You gotta train, Ivan. Train for like 4 years before you play in the league. That's how it works, right? Yeah, that's the key, obviously. You have to train in the league. I get paid today, man. Finally, man. I have to wait till 2, though. After 2 o'clock, I'm gonna bust it to D's and take my shower, bust it to D's and get my check. Yeah. Like my $100 check, right? I can get my 25 pack of smokes and my 6 beers. Yeah. Will you get food today, Ivan? I might just save. I'm not gonna get slices. I'll just save my money. I'll eat food at home. That's why I save my money, right? I need to save as much money as I can. I get paid on the 27th, my welfare check. So that's like, what, 4 days from now? 5 days from now. I don't need enough for 4 days, which is enough. I have enough for 4 days. For a pack of smokes, right? Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have a rule. Yeah, if I start up broadly, I want to have a rule. Tell the board of governors to tell the GMs, yeah, put all the rules in for the league, man. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Do draft picks get big deals in their first contract? No, they don't. I'm going to tell the league, all the draft picks in the league, obviously, start them off at like first round draft picks. You can start them off at like 2.5 million, and don't pick any higher than maybe 3.5, 3 point maybe 8 million for the first round draft picks. Second, third round draft picks. And the later round guys, you start them off at maybe a million, 750K, 800K. They make the minimum. They have to prove themselves. If they break out into the league, then they can now sign their mega deal. That's how it works. That's how it works in the NHL. Most first round draft picks, they make like a modest amount, maybe 3 million. And when they break out in the league, they sign their mega deal, like 8, 10-year deal. would do 12-year deals. No, 12 years is too much. I don't want to have you guys do me. Don't do any higher than 10 years for the deal for the players. And I recommend don't sign them to any less than 8 years. Make sure it's a long-term deal. That way they get paid. Don't sign them like a 5-year deal. No, sign them to at least an 8-year deal. Well, you can sign them to a 5-year deal if you want. I recommend you go to that 8 to 10-year deal for the star players. Whereas the good players, you can sign to small deals if you want, right? Like 5-6 year deals, right? And after the player makes that money for like 8-10 years, they can't make that money anymore. They no longer get league revenue. They don't get the magazine money because I'm not gonna have these guys do me. They already made their hundreds of millions. I'm not gonna have these athletes do me, man. That's some sound. Oh, you're such a fucking dick, man. Well, guys, man, I'm not gonna have you guys do me, man. I'm not gonna have you guys do me. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. If you make 200, 150 million, 250 million, 300 million in career earnings, that's enough money. I'm not gonna pay you another $300 million when you're past your prime. You're not worth that. You have to take pay cuts, man. Because you're no longer your prime. But you're still gonna make maybe your 25 million, oh hey, even saying 30 million for a couple seasons. That's still a lot of money, man. Yeah. You're still making your millions, your tens of millions. But you're not making the money that you're making before. You took a huge pay cut. Because you're no longer worth that money anymore. You're old now, man. I'm not having you guys do me. Alright, what if they're productive? If they're productive, you can pay the players 7, 8, 9. That's still good. Some even 10. 5 million, 6 million. That's still a lot of money, man. That's what star players make in the NHL. Yeah, that's still a lot of money. Yeah, you're still making a lot of money. You're just not making the money you made before. I'm not having you guys do me, right? Yeah. Even I want my 32 million for 10 seasons. My guys, you're not worth that, man. I'm not having you guys do me. Sarah. You're not worth that. Yeah, man. I'm not gonna have these guys do me, Sarah. Yeah. You have to balance it out. Yeah. They get 2 million. They get 32 million for 2 seasons. After that, they take pay cuts. They make it 26, 27 million for the next maybe two seasons. And after they bring it down to 22 million for the next 2 seasons. In the final 2 seasons, they make maybe 18, 17 million dollars. It's a good deal for those guys. That's still like a $250 million deal, whatever it is, right? With their league revenue, 250, 260, 270 million deal. Obviously. And once you make that, guys, if you make your 250, 200, 270 million dollars for your first contract, that's enough money for you guys to never have to work again. Now you'll play in the league as a better player, but you're gonna have to take your pay cuts. So it works. I don't have you guys do me. Well, it's easy for you to say that, man. You're making all those billions. I know if you're, I'm used to the fact that I'm making money, man. Go play in the NHL and make your 8, 9 million as a star player, man. You don't make this in the NHL, guys. NHL players don't make this. So. Yeah. I recommend you guys invest your money in businesses like hotels, not hotels, real estate, restaurants. Invest your money. That way you have extra money coming in. But I mean, with the money I'm paying them, they don't even have to invest their money. They with that money, if they're smart with the money, they never have to work down that money, man. Yeah, if you have 10, 15 million in your bank, 40 million in your bank, 100 million in your bank, 150 million in your bank, 200 million in your bank for the generational players, $200 million in your bank, you never have to work down with that money. As most pro athletes don't have that kind of money in the bank when they retire. Most pro athletes go broke after 5 years because they're stupid with their money. They're not smart with their money. Yeah. Most pro athletes go broke after 5 years. Pro sports. For the big four, right? NHL athletes, NFL athletes, NBA athletes, MLB athletes. A lot of them go broke after 5 years because they're stupid. They're stupid with their money. Some of them, right? And there's some of them. The only ones who don't go broke are the star players. The star players make so much money. Star players in every league, it's very rare for those guys to go broke because they made so much money obviously. And they have all these extra deals like endorsement deals. Those guys are good. Was the other like good player? The other players, a lot of them go broke, man. They made like the guys who made like their $3 million a season. A lot of those guys go broke. $5 million a season, they go broke because they're stupid with their money. They blew all their money during their career, man. They're stupid with their money, man. That's why I recommend you invest your money into stuff, into businesses, right? That way, when you retire, you have extra money coming in. Obviously, invest your money, right? Good to invest your money. Crypto, I heard is pretty good too. That's pretty good stuff. Invest your money in stuff, right? Do you have to invest your money? No. I'm making like my 80, I don't know, my 80 billion a season. I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm making more than that money, right? I'm making way more than everyone else. Yeah, it's not fair, man. You're the star of the league, you're making all that, though. We want a bigger cut of that, man. Guys, I'm not going to overpay you guys how we do me, man. You guys not worth this. Yeah. We want to raise, I want the cap at $300. Like, no, guys, you're not worth that. $200 for the cap's enough. Make sure you're getting paid good money. Yeah, we're just messing, man. Even though you're a greedy fucking pig, you're generous, man. Like we're all getting paid. Yeah, you're getting paid, guys. More than what these NHL athletes make. More than what even NFL athletes make on average. I'm paying more money than even what the NBA and NFL athletes are making, guys. I'm giving you nice perks too with we're dying in the hotel, nice facilities. Like you're both famous with me, try with me, and you're safe. You're not left behind. Like it's a good deal, right? Yeah. I'm giving you Star Players League revenue because I'm generous. The players deserve it. The star players deserve it. They deserve the league revenue. Considering they're the stars, they're the face of the league with you. Doesn't hurt to give them a small piece of the money. But if they get greedy, I'm not going to overpay these guys. How to do it, man. Yeah, we want like 40 million league revenue. My guys, you're not worth that. You're not getting any more than 20, man. I'm never going to raise the league revenue amount. I'm not going to have these guys do it, man. They're not worth 40, $50 league revenue. Rip me off. Yeah. Ripping you off, Ivan. Even Sidney Crosby and Carmen Investment are not worth $50 million league revenue. They wouldn't peak any higher than 20. Obviously, if they played my league, those guys. Too late for those guys. If they played my league, I wouldn't give them any more than 20 million of league revenue. That's enough. And they wouldn't peak any higher than 15 million a season for the first 2 seasons. Yeah. So to keep the generational happy, pay them so much money for 2 seasons, and after that, they gotta take huge pay cuts. If a generational player makes 40 million for 2 seasons, that's 80 million. They get 20 million of league revenue for the first 2 seasons. That's 120 million they made in 2 seasons. That's a lot of money. And after that, they have to take pay cuts. When that's contract, they make 30 million. They take a 10 million pay cut. That way, you can pay another good player 10 million, or 2 good players 5 million, or a draft pick 3 million and a good player 7 million. Like you have to create cap space. That's how it works. Yeah. Yo, Ivan, the generations are Ivan. That's a good deal for me. Even though we're making a appearance, like you're making sure we're getting paid. Yeah, you're getting paid, guys. $120 million for 2 seasons is a lot of money, guys. Okay, that's a lot of money in your bank. NHL athletes make that for their whole. Some star NHL athletes don't even make that for their whole career, man. Yeah, man. Like you made more in 2 seasons than what most NHL athletes make in their whole career. Some NHL athletes making in their whole career, because only the star players sound like 100+ million deals. The good players don't make that in the NHL. They sound like 30, 40 million deals. Those guys in the NHL, and you just made more than most of what these NHL athletes make in their whole career in 2 seasons. So I'm giving you're getting paid, guys. I'm making sure you're getting paid. The generational talents, right? Yeah, I may be greedy, guys. I'm generous. You're getting paid, man. It's a lot of money. A lot of money, but I want more on my guys. You're not worth any more than this, man. I'm not having guys do it, man. Go ahead, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Well, some non-generational talent demand $40 million. Yeah, they will, but the GM's not allowed to pay them that. They're not worth that. They're not getting any more than 32 million. Obviously, if the guy's a star, amazing player, but he's non-generational talent, more a normal player, right? Those guys are not getting any more than 32 million. I'm not going to pay you 32 million for 10 seasons. You're not worth that. You got your 32 million for 2 seasons, and maybe your 14 million league revenue for 2 seasons. And after that, you got to take your pay cut, man. You're going to make your 27, 26 million dollars for the next 2 seasons. And after that, you're going to get your 21, 22. You have to take pay cuts, man. That's how it works. Where you create cap space for the players, right? You really want to win championships, you got to take your pay cuts. That's how it works, right? You can't be a selfish player. Yeah. The players get housing in your league? No, they don't, because they're making the millions. Yeah, they don't get housing. You can easily afford to pay your bills. Yeah. How much do sport agents take? In pro sports, I think sport agents take 5%. I know in Hollywood it's 10%, but for sport agents they take a bit less. They take 5%, obviously, of the players' earnings. So the players, your agents are going to be taking 5% of your money, which is not that much, right? It's not that much of your money, right? Yeah. That's why some sport agents will push for a ridiculous amount of money because they want a bigger paycheck. But the GMs are going to tell them, yeah, sorry guys, it's part of the rule for the league. We can't pay the player any more than $3 million. They're non-generational talent. They're not, but some players might tell the GMs, I am a generational talent, obviously, but the GMs will know if they're generational talents or not. You know if a player is generational talent or not. They're a rare talent on the ice. They're what? They stand out from the other players. That's generational talent. Obviously, they're unique players. Obviously, no, him guys said yeah. But some star players might think they're generational talents when they're not, obviously. Yeah, I know you think you're a generational talent, but you're not, man. Like you're like, yeah, you're an amazing player, but you're not rare talent, obviously. Yeah, obviously. I'm sorry. Yeah. So they have to balance out the star players. Yeah. If a team has 3 star players, one star player can make maybe 30, and the other guy makes maybe 27, the other guy makes 20. And they have to take pay cuts, obviously. That's how it works. Obviously. That way you create cap space. Because those 3 players are already draining a good chunk of the cap, man. They're draining a good what? Like, I don't know, 70 million of the cap. They just drain like 70 million of the cap. You have 120 million cap space to pay the other players. So it's like, I know the good players are going to want to get their 10 million, 11, 12 million too. So you have to create cap space, obviously. Some players will make 8, 7. They have to get paid, those guys too. It's not just about the star players. The star players deserve all of the money, but you have to think about the players, guys. It's not just about you. You really want to win championships. So, Sarah? Yeah. Obviously. So the less money the star players make, the lower the pay cut. Yes. Like if a star player is starting off at 21 million, they can take they can take maybe $1.5 million pay cuts because they're not making as much. But if the guy's making like 32 million, they have to take 5, maybe $6 million pay cuts. 27 million, they gotta take maybe 3, $4 million pay cuts. The guy who makes 20, he can take a 2 million, $1 million pay cut. That way he gets paid. So you can pay that player 21 million for 2 seasons. The next 2 seasons they make maybe they make maybe 20. The way they get paid. Then the next 2 seasons they make maybe 18 million. In the final season they make maybe 16 million. That way you create cap space. You can give them like 10, 12 million in league revenue. That player is still made like, I don't know, 200 million around there, right? About 200 million in his career earnings for his 8-10 year contract. Like, that's some more in the NHL. And that's enough. And after that, you have to take pay cuts. I'm not going to sign you for another $200 million deal and have you do like that, man. No way. Coaches too, right? Coaches get greedy and they want $3 million. Not coaches are not gonna get paid that. Some coaches might want to raise. You'll get your raise, but I'm not gonna peak any higher than $20 million for the coaches. In the next bargaining agreement, I can raise it to maybe $1,800,000 for the coaches. That's a good deal for the coaches. Guys, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, some play guys and press want, yeah, some press guys might be greedy. They want like $800,000 a season. My guys, you're not worth that. You get a couple $100,000, you're not worth $800,000 as a press guy. You're fucking crazy. I'm not gonna have you do like that, man. And the play guys are not worth the millions either. They don't peak any higher than $750,000. Yeah. If the guy doesn't have much experience, start them off at $300,000 for play-by-play for a season. That's good pay for those guys. And they get hotel costs paid for, and they get per dimes all paid for with their dinner. When they're staying in a hotel and they want to eat dinner and all stuff. And their flights are all paid for. If the guy has a lot of experience, you can start him off at $500,000. And he's not peaking any higher than $750,000. $750,000 is a good yearly salary for a play-by-play guy. You're living a great life with that money. But they're not worth their millions, those guys. Those guys do me. Yeah. But they want the millions because the league, the league's doing so much money, so much revenue. We deserve more money on it. My guys, I get that, but you get paid for what you're worth. I'm not going to overpay you guys. I would do it, man. You're not worth your millions to play other guys. Only the guys can say, yeah. So, everyone in your league, everyone in my league will want a raise, a huge raise. They want like a ridiculous raise because the league's making so much money. I'm not having guys do me, man. Get paid for what you're worth. I'm not having guys do me, Sarah. Yeah. Like for the bargaining agreement, the SHLPA might push for $400 million. We want like a huge raise, Iron. How much? I don't know, like $350 million cap. My guys, you're fucking crazy. I'm not having guys do it, man. You're crazy. Players are not worth that. You have a $350 million cap, Ivan. Good players now can make like $20 million in your league. They're ripping you off. They're not worth that, man. Because they want that big. Yeah, we want that big mega deal. Yeah, Ivan. Yeah, but guys, man, good players are not worth that. Not star players. I'm not having guys do me, man. I know you want to get paid more money, but what I'm paying you is enough, man. This is more than what the NHL players make. I think greedy. Sorry. No, I'll raise the cap to like $13 million. That's good enough for the players. Sorry. I know your shit. I know my shit. I'm not gonna have these athletes do me, man. God, we're not gonna have those athletes do me. Nah, man, I'm not gonna have those guys do me. Yeah, it's fair. We're not worth that. Yeah, like you guys are not worth like non-generational talent are not worth like 400, 500 million for earnings. They're ripping me off, man. They're not worth that, man. You overpaid them, Ivan, and they ripped you off, man. They just made way too much money for their NHL earnings. You're being way too generous. Only the generational talents could peak at 500 million in career earnings, 450 million career earnings around they can peak at. But the other guys are not worth any more than maybe 300 million in career earnings. To start on generational talent. Some of them will make about 300 million career earnings around there. Some even 350. But most of the guys will probably be peaking at that 200 to 250 million range. 270 million range in earnings. 250 million range in earnings for their career earnings for their first big contract. And after that, they have to take a huge pay cut. That's how it works. 200 million they'll peak at. Which is good enough, as most of these pro athletes don't make that in their career earnings in the other pro leagues. They don't make $200 in career earnings, most pro athletes in their career earnings. Except for the star players. But the non-star players, they don't make that amount in career earnings, right? Yeah. Even NFL athletes don't make that, most of the guys. Most NFL athletes don't make $200 in career earnings. No, they have like 30, 40, 50, 60 million in career earnings, NFL athletes. The star players. Except for the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks in the NFL can have about 200, 250, 300 million in career earnings. Because quarterbacks in the NFL get paid so much money. They make their 20 million, 25, 30 million a season, 40 million a season. Patrick Mahomes has made 50 million a season. But he took a pay cut. I told you that, right? Yeah. Because he wants to win championships, obviously. Why I think he got a pay cut, Patrick Mahomes? Probably because his performance dipped this year. We paid this guy way too much money for a couple of years. His performance dip. He has to take. We want to win championships. We have to sign other star players, and we make our team better. Patrick Mahomes has to take a pay cut. He glad he took a pay cut, which is generous of him to do that because I mean, I took a pay cut because I already made a shitload of money for the past couple of years, and like, I don't want to be a selfish player. I want to win champions. Yeah, you want to win champions. Sometimes you gotta take pay cuts. You gotta take sacrifice. How it works, right? So the other players can get paid. Yeah. Yeah. He took like I think half of his money. He took a half like a $3,500 pay cut, Patrick Mahomes, for his contract, for the rest of his contract, something crazy. I still think he's still making like his like $30 million a season, Patrick Mahomes. He took maybe like a 15-20 million pay cut for his salary, obviously, but he's still making a lot of money, right? Yeah, because he wants to win championships, right? Yeah. So that works, right? Oh, I have to wait till 2. Yeah. At 2 o'clock, I'm gonna bust it in and get my check. I'm gonna go to the store and get my beer. Do you get 2 40s or you get 6 beers? I don't know. I might get 6 beers. I'll just get 6 beers. I'm not gonna get food though. To save money, I'm not gonna get slices. I'll just eat food at home. I don't want to get slices. Right? I don't want to waste my money. I get paid on Friday, like $600 from Warfare. By this time, I gotta save my money. I can't touch it because I blew all my money this time. I was stupid this time. I have no money right now. Right? Fucking poor. 0 money in my bank, guys. I mean, that's funny. I know. Fucking poor. Yeah. So I mean, the actual athletes are greedy. Of course they are. They're greedy pigs, those guys. Especially the star players. Star players in my league are going to want a ridiculous amount of money. I know, guys, you want to get paid, but like, I'm not going to work for you guys. I would do you, right? Yeah. Well, some star players demand, yeah, they might be a thing where like 3 of the star players demand $30 million, but the GM will tell them, guys, we can't afford to pay you that. You're going to drain the cap. That's $90 million on the cap. We can't afford to pay the GMs can't afford to do that. Obviously. Yeah. When you have in the rule you can't pay 3 players $30 million, no, the GM wants to pay 3 players $30 million, he can, but I mean, you're not going to have much cap space to pay the other players. Because $30 million for 3 players is $90 million on the cap. So $10 million is still enough money to pay the remaining, like, I don't know, like 15 players. But chances are the good players are not going to make as much money. They'll peak at maybe one guy might make 10, the other guy's got to make like 6-7 million because you just paid 3 players $30 million. Obviously, the GMs can do that, but I'm going to give a warning. You can do that, but if you do that, you're going to drain the cap, and you're not going to have as much cap space to pay other players. But the rule is the players have to take pay cuts after two years. They have to take significant pay cuts. That's how it works. That way you create more cap space for the players. That's how it works. But the GMs can pay 3 players $30 million if they want, but you're going to drain the cap. That's $90 million on the cap, guys. And you now have $110 million left, which is enough money to pay like 15 players still good money, but they're going to take bigger pay cuts, obviously. Yeah, maybe 3 good players can bargain for maybe their 10, 11 max, and the other good players are going to peak at maybe 6 million, 7 million. And quite a bit of average players might make $1 million. That's how you create cap space. Yeah. That's not illegal bullying each other longer. Yeah. You think a GM will pay 3 players $30 million? Perhaps, yeah. I highly doubt 3 players, maybe 2 players. Maybe he might pay them $30 million for the first 2 seasons. And then one other star player will pay him maybe 20 to create cap space. Obviously. And the good players can peak at maybe 12 million. Maybe two players make 12 million. 3 players make 12 million. 3 good players make 12 million. The other good players make their $8, $9 million, which is still a lot of money. That's what star players make in the NHL, right? That's what my legal both the NHL water. Yeah. I know, guys, I'm greedy, man, but I'm making sure you're getting paid, man. You guys don't make this in the NHL, man. Other pro athletes, these don't make this, guys, on average. They don't make this kind of money, guys. Like, you're getting paid, man. You're living a rich life with this money, with your girlfriend and your family. So, that's what SHL bully SHL water. Anyways, guys, this is for guys on my CFL video or my SHL videos. I remember saying, peace out, guys. I'm going to pick up my chat in a couple hours. I'm going to show you guys with my coffee after this. Peace out, guys. Oh, hey, I'm saying. SHL better than the NHL. You see what you score is out of the mirror.